Hey folks, I'm Parrish, Randall, and you are listening to the Movie Raid.
It's time for the Movie Raid, and tonight's victim is actor Parrish Randall, known for his role in Circus of the Dead and other films. Hello.
Hey, glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
What have we been up to lately?
Well, we've been up to, let's see, working on more films. I just completed a film up in Ohio entitled Fun, which is a horror film directed by Robbie Barnes and Kinsley Unrai, if I said that name correctly, the last name. It's an action horror thriller. I'm producing and appearing in another feature. Right now we're in pre-production and just completed the Cult Classic Convention, and then beyond that, Cowboys from Hell for director Billy Pond. Those folks out there who are familiar with Circus of the Dead are familiar with director Bloody Billy Pond, one of the best directors out there, and he's a good friend, and so I'm looking forward to Cowboys. So got a lot going on this year, and I'm thankful for it.
Well, that's very cool. As far as the producing aspect, is that still new to you, or is that still a little bit challenging, or do you feel pretty comfortable doing this and doing the acting?
No, yeah, I'm comfortable with it. I've produced and acted in about 3 other films, and it's something that just requires organization. You have to do your producerial work, and then when it comes time to step in front of the camera, you have to be prepared, and you shed the producerial cap, and you become the character. It kind of requires, if you will, multitasking, yes, but it's something I enjoy. I love film, so I love all facets of film. Producing and appearing in a film, for me, is it's something I'm just thankful to have the opportunity to do. Well, that's where the organization part comes in. You know, when I agree to produce a film, most of my producerial tasks are going to occur in the pre-production period, so that once we get to that point of actual production, then I can focus on acting, which means preparing the character, creating the backstory, tapping into all those sense memory moments that you're going to utilize to bring forth emotions in the character, your portrayal of the character. For me as an actor, I adhere to the Stanislavski method, which is you become that guy you're playing. You're not playing and you are him. So it's really essential that I'm able to complete the producerial portion of my job and still have time to prepare the character before actual production. And that's how you do it. If I can't have that kind of arrangement, then I really couldn't do both.
You've succeeded in quite a few roles aside from Circus of the Dead as well. Do you think that reflecting between success of character or career can actually be a defect in the future of other characters' performance, or at least performance-wise in some aspects?
I think you're going to take each separate film project as just that. Each project, each character is totally different from the last. Like I said, while I may be producing and appearing in this specific film, the next one I may be only cast in that film, but the work is going to be the same. The characters are different, the circumstances are different, the storylines are different based on the screenplay, but you're going to, when it comes to your work as, let's say, the actor, you're going to utilize the same talents, the same styles of preparation, etc., that you're going to utilize on any film that you've done. You're not going to let the last character bleed over into the current character, in other words. And you are going to, make certain that you have done your preparatory work. As I say, you're going to take the script, you're going to look at the character you're playing. If he's a bad guy, number one, you never look at the bad guy as the bad guy, okay? He's a character. He is the way he is in the script, and you've got to create a backstory from his birth that become memories in your head for that character. What brought him to that place where he's at in that screenplay, in what will be the film itself. Villains in film or elsewhere don't really deem themselves to be villains. They just are how they are. So it's essential to figure out what makes them tick. You find the colors, you find the textures of the character. You create things in your head, and there's a plethora of things that, it just comes from the imagination. What made the guy become perhaps villainous? All right, what made him a sociopath? What made him a killer? What made him a psychopathic serial rapist, if that's the case, whatever. And when you do that, you're able to step on set and you have that guy living in your head. As scary as that may sound, my wife sometimes says it's like living with a schizophrenic when I'm preparing a character. But you step on that set prepared. Your dialogue is not something that you memorize. It's because you've created that character, and there's a reason he's having those conversations that you see in the film. The dialogue is committed. The dialogue is to the character, to those moments you see shot from the screenplay itself. Emotions, if it's rage, anger, if it's psychosis, if it's tears, you have to find that, or at least I do, that's something that's happened in your past that you can tap into and substitute that memory, that feeling, it's a sense memory thing for that emotion at the appropriate time in the storyline, in the characters, progression of the film when it calls for it, whether it's tears or anger or rage. So all of these things kind of combine, as confusing as it sounds, and that enables you, the actor, to become the character and make him real, make the emotions real, make the anger, the rage, the hatred, the tears real. Anything less than the real deal is cheating. That's just always been my training. I feel like every character is different. Yes, the method to creating the realism of those characters based on whatever method works for each individual actor respectively may be the same. Each character is different. Each character is his own person. I can't borrow from the last character to create the next one. The method is still going to be the same. I guess that's the only thing I utilize from character to character over and over is literally what it takes to create this next character, whether he's a good guy, bad guy.
Since we're moving further and further into the future, or especially there's new films, there's new studios making bigger budgets and so forth, but do you think some of these studios are almost kind of damaging viewership, because in terms of viewing new films today compared to the last 10-15 years, what was done before that made those films successful, do you think it's their opinions or anything related or actually changing viewers of how they see films today compared to then?
I'll talk about the major studio features, and I'm saying, those $80 million epics, as if you want to call them that, coming out of Hollywood. I think they find that sort of formula that works, and they just keep kind of recycling it. You'll see different actors and different clothing and such, but it's always, I hate to say it, it's almost like, hey, I've seen this movie, but the last one had so-and-so and so-and-so in it, but it's kind of a recycling, because when you're going to put $80 million into a film, it's just an unfortunate fact that studios are going to play it safe, and they're going to say, well, this formula worked the last 3 times, let's try it again. That's one great thing about independent cinema. I think filmmakers out there who, while they're not working with $80 million, they may be working with $250,000, they may be working with $1 million, or even $100,000. They are taking those risks, and they're telling different types of stories. They're not recycling over and over. So I think that's why independent cinema attracts the following and the fan base, or the independent genre, that it does. Because, while everybody's going to enjoy the latest hero epic on occasion, there's still going to be those people that are going to look to independent cinema to give them something different. Something, whether it's a horror film, whether it's a comedy, whether it's a drama. Independent cinema is known to tackle those subject matters that the studios maybe perhaps stay away from, okay? Because studios might deem certain subject matters and topics to be too great of a risk. They will risk, obviously, not making their money back and seeing the profit at the box office, because they've got that $80 million. More of the same.
They're focused mainly on the product. They're focused around the design, and that's why they just keep recycling. And what I mean by damaging the viewership is that there's always going to be new people watching these new films, and that means there's going to be new criticism against older films, and their opinions and the train of thought is going to be different, a lot different compared to the ones that have been going to these movies forever. And do you think that independent would be much more accepted in these theaters, that you yourself would more go to the theater more often than to watch these larger big budgets? Should they be the ones be on the streaming and mainly to the rent-a-box ones?
Yeah, I really do. I think, honestly, because now there's so many different mediums through which we see films, not just in theaters, as certainly was the case 30 years ago. Now there's Netflix. So many sites, smart TVs and such, are able to enjoy films, both the larger budget and the independents. And the independents do quite well. And we're seeing more and more independent films get, albeit limited theatrical releases, they're getting some play in theaters. Okay, whether it be some of the Rob Zombie features, or some others. And then they make their way then to those sites, whether it be Netflix or whatever. But I think independent features are gaining in momentum as far as fan support, as far as viewership overall. And I think theatrically you're going to see, I think you already are seeing more and more independent features, making it to theater. And I think that's a good thing. I think there's room for all kinds of entertainment. I think for those folks that love the big budget superhero films or the big budget, I don't know, car crashes, explosions, and the CGI stuff, those films are there. I think, though, there are those people that, like you said, like to see those films more independent in nature, in that they tell stories that are different and they take the viewer on a journey that basically provides them with a storyline that's not one that they can predict, okay? I know I myself, I like to see a movie that maybe a quarter of the way through, I cannot tell you where it's going to go, okay? And a lot of these films that I see, again, a quarter of the way through, I can kind of predict, okay, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, and the bad guy is going to be unveiled as this person or that person. And independent films tend to throw you curveballs, and also, you know, when we talk the horror genre, independent films are going to kind of come at you with a lot of things that, you know, your more mainstream films, the bigger budget films won't. And horror fans, and I've always been a genre fan, that's what we love, okay? And as an actor, I love being in those films. And I go back to Circus of the Dead. When I read the script, that's what impressed me with that screenplay. Initially, Billy Pond, when he and Lee from the screenplay, they wrote a screenplay that was reminiscent of those great independent drive-in epics that played at drive-ins or in grindhouse theaters back in the 70s. These were films like Last House on the Left and Texas Chainsaw Massacre and all of those films at that time that for the first time in the 1970s were presenting audiences with storylines and imageries that they'd never seen before, and people were just blown away. That's what you're seeing more and more independent filmmakers do. I think the fans are responding positively to that. I do. And I'm thankful for that. Because what I, as an actor, and I think what Billy or Robbie Barnes with Perfect Holiday Productions, or the folks that I've worked for, going all the way back to Quick and the Undead, you know, back in 05, the idea amongst independent filmmakers is to work together to create a product that's different, that's unique, that's going to entertain. It's going to, you know, leave a mark, so to speak, okay?
Even though independent can be limited to certain statures compared to these well-known established studios who have all this money and stuff, but the fact is, when they're limited, the success rate is really high because there's so many interesting stories out there. And shorts and other features out there that they're not given a chance in terms of from these other studios. They're not getting picked up by them, but they're going on their own, and this is the best part. They're going on their own routes, festivals, and having be, even though they might be limited in theaters, the fact is these are becoming more acknowledged and more of notice because there's a lot of fresh ideas, a lot of freshness in general, every genre that you see compared to these other studios which are just simply going one route and one route only. It's like recycle the same thing, recycle the same concept when you see different concepts of these independent ones, whether it's drama and so forth. It's really interesting to see the fact that these guys are making more headway than what these studios can't be doing for the last 5 years so far.
I agree, yeah. You know, I got to say that I have to go back to Circus of the Dead. I have to say that thank the universe for social media. What social media has done, it's brought the fans of a certain genre, or certain genres, plural, together, okay, globally. And for those fans of the independent film genre, the horror genre, brought people together, and it's also enabled filmmakers to get their trailers out there online, to get independent filmmakers a chance to promote their latest features. And the horror fans out there on the web, on social media, looking for that new and different type of motion picture entertainment, they see these trailers for the independent films, and they say, hell, I want to see that. And then, of course, you know, those films generally get some type of distribution, and the fans are able to then pay-per-view type situation through iTunes or Amazon Prime, or whether it's, you know, they buy the DVD or Blu-ray. They're able to see these films they would otherwise never have even heard of were it not for social media. Social media is the independent filmmakers, you know, publicity machine. Thank God we have it again. Well, I think Circus is a prime example of a film that, let's see, we completed that film in late 2013. It had its first screening in 2014, and of the 20-plus films I've done, Circus, it just kept living. In other words, most films come and go. The fans, as they discovered this film, they were keeping it alive, and what an honor. And I mean that, what a true honor, both to Billy and to us as cast members over the last 5 years, has been embraced by so many of the genre fans that have seen it. It's become its own sort of cult classic, and you know, I said in an interview recently, when I did the Cult Classic Convention appearance, that cult films, when the fans actually embrace and exalt a cult film, or a film, they turn it into that cult status film, and they sustain the life of it, and they keep it alive. I think when it's the audience that viewers of the film that actually, care enough about the feature to keep it alive and keep it. That's the ultimate honor, better than an Academy Award, because you're pleasing the very audience for which you made the film. And thanks to that viewership and that embracing of Circus is now, I can't say what, I'll let Billy talk about that later, but some big things are happening for Circus. It's actually, receiving not only the accolades, but it's actually getting a great second wind that I think is pretty cool. Okay, I've never been in the film that this has happened for before, but I'm very thankful to all the viewers out there who just enjoyed the film enough to make this happen.
Go ahead and plug in any websites or anything that we can check out right now.
CircusOfTheDeadMovie.com. You can go to PerfectHolidayProductions.com and check out fun. You can go to YouTube, search for the trailer to fun, Circus of the Dead. You can keep up with what's happening. See, my website specifically is just ParrishRandall.wixsite.com/actor. So you can Google me, and there's kind of stuff that will come up. It's all out there on the web, man. And that's the cool thing. I'm thankful for the internet. You and I had a discussion earlier. The internet, it's a huge plus for independent filmmakers and independent actors. People talk about the downside to the internet, and it's a sword that can cut both ways. But if used in a positive way, it can really alert fans of a certain genre, like the independent film genre, as to what's coming and what they might want to look forward to seeing, that sort of thing. Also, obviously, you want to check out the Cult Classic Convention website, because while we just had the Cult Classic Convention down in Bastrop, Texas, which is the land where the Texas Chainsaw Massacre first, saw first roared, as I say, they're already, building the roster for February 2021 event, and so you can go to the site cultclassicconvention.com and check that out. Also in May, the TexasFrightmareWeekend.com. And because in May, that Texas Frightmare Weekend event's upcoming, and a lot of great people are going to be there. And it's an exciting time to be involved in film and horror films and such, and always been a horror fan, man. And I love meeting all the fans of the genre, and I call them friends, the folks who support the films I'm in, and others. I'm thankful for them, because we work for them, and I say that always in every interview. The work that we do is for them. We work for them. If they're not pleased with what we bring to them, then we failed, okay? And it's thanks to them that any of us who do what we do, whether it be me, Billy Pond, whether it be, Perfect Holiday Productions, the fans are the reason we have a job. And that I say with all sincerity.
There you have it, everybody. That is actor Parrish Randall.